Is the water warm enough?
Yes,
Yes.
Lisa.
Shall we begin?
Yes, Lisa. I can't believe Prince is dead. Did you ever get to see him?
No. Things like that.
No. Let me tell you. He played a guitar solo that made me cry.
That's awesome.
That was like, he had me so wrapped in. This is probably one of my favorite songs of his. I just love that beginning. Yes, Lisa. Is the water warm enough? Yes, Lisa. Ladies and gentlemen and all other folk, welcome back to another edition of the RookiARTisT Podcast. As a matter of fact, it's a little of a rookie on the road, but not too far, because I'm here in an area of Maryland I didn't know what was called, but I just traveled through here many times. I used to live in Severna Park.
Okay.
I graduated from Severna Park High School, which is not too far from where we are now. I just, like, when you said the name of the place, I'm like,
Gambles.
I have no idea where you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in a nice little cozy front yard, kind of like a little Rookie on the Road podcast that we did at Brother Mike's house. Birds are chirping. It's a beautiful day to be alive, and I'm very privileged to have this young lady on the podcast with us. So this is a dear friend of mine. We work together. She's a rookie mom. She's a rookie bartender. She's a rookie crazy person, and that's why I wanted to talk to her, because she has a really interesting story. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Christina Held.
I don't know. I thought no last names.
We'll edit that out, which we won't, but people will forget by the time we're done talking. They're like,
that's true.
No.
I don't know how interesting my quote story is.
I think it's very interesting, and this is why, because I only have snippets, little pieces of stuff, just to keep. So I've been in the restaurant business for 20 years, and it's boring as fuck at this moment. At this moment in time, it is boring. Many times I feel like a robot, a very good and efficient robot, a robot with a brain that can pay attention still to what he's doing, like to try to continue to improve, but like it's so unbelievably boring. So like one of my favorite things to do to pass the time is look at people's names on their credit card. Oh, that's an interesting name.
And then Google it, see where they work, what they do.
That's
stalkerish.
No, I don't take it that deep. But where I take it to like, oh, James Madison. And then I stop myself instantly and say, hey, I wonder how many times he's heard a stupid joke about his dumb name.
Right.
So I gotta never talk about it. But with people that I work with now,
I waited on Robert Duvall last night.
Last night.
Or night. Was it last? I think it was last night.
Hold on.
Somebody named Robert Duvall.
Oh.
Not the real.
Not Godfather.
The real. Yeah, no. And I waited on Aaron Burr a few times.
Aaron Burr, really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
There's lots of celebrity name doppelgangers. Is that a thing?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure that's you can be a name.
But no one really, no one super cool.
I've never waited on anybody super cool. I've waited on former baseball players, and that's a hit and miss, because, well, yeah, I guess it's a hit and miss with like actors and any kind of like celebrity. Say, and athletes are celebrities because you watch them and you pay attention to them, probably more so than real celebrities. Mm-hmm. Like movie stars, you don't really pay attention to them. But like baseball players, for instance, like I've met and waited on baseball players, and they've turned out to be either, just like regular people, either supreme dicks because I say, holy shit, Mike Messina, what a pleasure to meet you. By the way, I'm 13. This is my birthday present. This is amazing. You're the greatest pitcher. Like I love you. You're amazing. Yeah. Give me your ball. Continued his conversation, signed the ball, chucked it back to me, and I was heartbroken.
It's horrible.
Hey,
That's
Mike.
so horrible.
You know, Mike, I hope that today you're happy, and but then you went to the Yankees, and then I had no love for you. But then I've waited on people like Steve Lombardozzi. His son played for the Orioles for a minute. He played for the Twins, won a World Series. Cool dude. Him and his wife, super cool people. They live right down the street from where we work. Really nice. How the fuck did I get on baseball conversations about like people?
Talking about celebrities.
That's right. So about you, I have snippets because along with like people I wait on, I look for people that are for things about the people that I work with.
Okay.
To be interested in them.
Okay.
So that therefore, when I go to work, I can say, "Hey, such and such, how was your ball game on Thursday?"
Right.
Not because I just want to make small talk, but because I want to make it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I want to gain something from the experience that I'm begrudgingly doing. So, what I know about you is that you're from Kentucky, correct?
Yes.
Where?
Erlanger, Kentucky, which
Erlanger.
is northern Kentucky, if there is such a thing. It's close to Cincinnati.
Okay.
Our neighborhood, actually, when you fly into the Greater Cincinnati International Airport, that's our neighborhood, which is actually in northern Kentucky.
Okay. Really?
Yeah. The airport actually bought out all the houses in our neighborhood. And
Word.
That's why we moved.
Gotcha. Really?
Yeah.
So,
we moved from Kentucky, we moved to Indiana.
of
My
course,
dad had a
you're
job
moving
there.
up.
And then I went to college, finished high school there, went to college there, and then moved out here.
Word.
Yeah.
Word.
Kentucky was a fun little 16 years.
So you were there until you were 16.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing that one reason why I've been so fascinated with wanting to talk to you lately, also because I've been really deep into, I'm trying to find different inspirations musically, and different stuff to listen to, and for some reason, what I've been playing, guitar-wise, has been a lot of gospel, feeling like a lot of gospel, spiritual music, and I know that you have a history also being well-versed in religion, Christianity, and having a spiritual way about you.
I love Jesus.
Who doesn't?
Some people don't.
Some people don't know Jesus.
Don't know.
But if you knew him, so I know. Not only do I know
that is a real
Jesus,
cool dude
but I know
right
Moses and I know Yahweh, and I know a bunch of people, and they're cool people. I like to hang out with them from time to time. I wouldn't call any one of them first. Jesus is in my ice. You feel me? My in case of emergency contact. Jesus, he's not there. But neither is Moses or neither is Buddha.
I don't talk to Moses, that's for sure.
You could.
Thought about him today, though.
Really?
When I was taking my baby out of the bathtub and I was wrapping him in this really colorful striped... I guess that would be Joseph in the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. But I was thinking of swaddling him up and putting him in a...
Yeah, and down the river.
Yeah. I mean, I would not want to do that with my baby, but...
Think of how gangster Moses is, because not only did he survive the river in a basket unharmed, but then later parted the Red Sea.
But that wasn't Moses that did it. It was God.
Oh, well, I mean, but he was the conduit. Saying. Okay,
yeah.
But Jesus, the same thing. Come on now. That you can't say. Hey, you can't say it wasn't Moses, it was God, but then say, "Yo, I love Jesus." I mean, it's the same thing to me. They're conduits. And
that can be the same thing to you.
Matter of fact, you have Bob Marley on your book.
This isn't my book.
Well,
disclaimer: this book was here when I got here.
Catch a Fire is okay. Bob Marley, hero of mine, very extremely spiritual man, right? So I in my very odd way of thinking, Bob Marley and Jesus to me are the same. Okay.
You can totally think that. In fact, when I came across some people that were Jah this, Jah that, I was like, what is up with this religion? And you smoke pot. And so I did a lot of research into this religion, and no, I wouldn't say
Rastafarian?
a lot. Maybe I read some Wikipedia pages.
Wait, pages or like you
I was
clicked
very
on the original
interested.
and then you like clicked on the different links.
Went on some
cool.
Went on some wiki binges type things, and there are a lot of similarities. Just like there are in lots of major religions as well. But I was like, what is the difference? And there definitely are, because when you get down to
Similarities or differences?
there are differences, but there are more similarities.
And that's why. So I feel like I'm three things.
Okay.
I feel that I'm Catholic.
Okay.
I was baptized Catholic, raised Catholic, went to Catholic school, and only recently has Christianity as a whole, but especially Catholicism, kind of like tugging at me a little bit recently. Not sure why, but instead of wondering why, I've learned not to get caught up on the why, just to follow along and just pay attention.
Pay attention, exactly.
So just be open. And also, I feel like I'm a third Buddhist.
Okay.
And I'm a third Rastafarian.
Okay.
People laugh when I say the last one, especially because they know that I smoke marijuana.
Right.
And they're like, but even like straight-laced people, and they think like, oh, ganja, man. No, it's not. It has nothing to do with that. We'll get into the other thing if you want to, but that's not important. What is important is that Buddhism and Rastafarianism, to me, have very more similarities than not. They're more focused with the inside and taking care of the inside and being at peace with the inside, and then that expands itself kind of like an exploding star. Whereas I feel Christianity, other major religions, Judaism, Islam, they're looking from outside, and so it's kind of like an implosion. So they're looking for the higher source on the outside, and then it affects the inside. Does that make sense?
I see where you're coming from, but I think that Christianity is inviting God to be in you, like inviting Jesus into your heart, so to speak, inviting God to be in you, and Jesus is light, and that light, even in a world full of darkness or a room full of darkness or a box full of darkness, a little bit of light will illuminate the entire room. So it's kind of like your Buddhism, Rastafarianism, where the star explodes.
Yeah.
But it's like once you get that little light in there, it illuminates everything. In my experience,
to me, that's I guess maybe that I need to change my explanation because you're saying like that God in that religion is external. It's an other external.
Person.
So you kind of seek and that where especially with Buddhism encourages you to sit and be still and not let anything just blank breathe, focus on the breath. Whereas in Christianity, especially with me,
God.
Like you focus on God, the outside.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Like that's why, in a way, I think that's why you vocalize your prayers, not just internalize them, like say them in your mind. I mean, I'm guessing people pray however they wish, but I was always taught to.
I don't really. There's very few times where I vocalize a prayer.
Really?
If I'm praying with someone, say I'm visiting someone in the hospital or something major happened and they clearly need someone to pray with or for them, even if they don't believe, it's nice. And then I will vocalize a prayer. Or I'll just like put my arm around them and just have a moment of silence where I'm praying and they're just feeling my arm around them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like on a day-to-day, don't really vocalize prayers very much at all. Like just like, I think it was Paul that said pray without ceasing. And so if God is in your life,
pray without ceasing.
Like always pray.
Like,
always have God present with you.
Okay.
Always be aware and be communicating with God even if it's not, vocal.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
And there are definitely times where there's ceasing, believe me, when you're angry with someone and then you have to like refocus?
Those things are always tricky for me to to assign them to a philosophy. Those moments of confusion or anger when in similar ways, say if like a big flashbang goes off or an explosion where like it kind of goes boo.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily saying losing yourself, but some things can get in the way, or you can let some things compile.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it becomes like a sudden blockage. And that's unless you think for a moment.
I'll put them inside.
No worries.
Okay.
Unless you think for a moment, that was just a dog. You know what I mean? We're outside. It's country living. Unless you vocalize or actually feel, man, you ain't doing shit for me. What I'm practicing isn't helping or doing anything. Those are people who are looking for something out of it instead of just like actively looking for something, not necessarily just accepting what comes, and a way of not dealing with, but learning about their experiences, their life. I don't believe that. Like they're kind of people who are in our profession just for money. Obviously, we get paid for what we do, but we also, at least for me, I do it to aid in people's happiness.
Yeah.
Like, hey, if I can help you have a good time, that's why I do my job, and that's why I make the money that I do. And there are other people who are good at doing what they do without the other worrying part. But I would much rather just focus on helping people.
For sure. Yeah, that's why I enjoy what I do too, what we do. I used to work at this sports bar with pool tables and football every Sunday and all that good stuff. And we had these regulars that would come in and would be there for hours every day, drinking $1.25 draft beer every single day. And at 4 o'clock, when happy hour rolled around, then they would start drinking, like, I'll have a shot of real whiskey or whatever. And it was just like, man, like, what kind of life do they have, and they, whatever. And then you start thinking about, okay, it's Thanksgiving, I have to work. These same dudes are here. And it's like, I bring them a plate of Thanksgiving leftovers. And I'm like, they're so happy to receive it. And they're like, oh my God, thank you, I didn't get a meal, blah, blah, blah. And then come to find out, dude has a whole family at home and he's just an alcoholic,
Yeah.
And yes, his wife did make Thanksgiving, but he chose to spend it at the bar, or maybe got kicked out of the house for the day or whatever. But yeah, anyway, making someone's day, being that person's, it's kind of like you're being that person's family. It's like you're their cheers.
Those kind of places, holy shit, I've worked at places where you think, on the outside, people think, oh shit, it's Sunday, it's football season, you're going to make dough. No. Bars, yes. That is the worst place to fucking work on Sunday.
Because they're there from morning till night.
Especially now with the Sunday night game. You can't no.
Just drinking the cheapest that they can drink.
There's a place I used to work, I'm not going to fucking mention the name because they're all over Maryland. It's fucking like a dumb American place. Just a dumb American place. Typical bullshit, like same food you see everywhere, same beers you see everywhere, same titties you see everywhere, same dudes with the same haircuts. Like, typical dumb American place. And yet, they would have $1.50 the 4 popular drafts all day. So you can go in there and you can get fucked up $25.
Yeah.
What's your tip on $25? If you're nice.
They might give you a 5.
If you're nice. But you poured 18 Coors Lights for $5 bucks. And you're like, I hate you.
My favorite people were the ones that would pay cash for each drink. And so they would either give you change from the dollar or give you an extra $1. And it was just like, okay, I'm making $1 per drink. That's awesome. But, like, then you have the ones that just run the tab all day. Oh, and the vouchers. On Sundays, the vouchers. You pay $10 to get in, and then you can use that $10 toward your tab. So that $25 tab is actually a $15 tab. And they don't count that $10.
No.
Yeah. It was the worst.
So
Sunday.
during the height of, like, probably, like, the crescent, like, the crashing wave that it is of my horrendous drinking career, Kristen and I would go to a ball game, and there was one particular time. This happened. These two incidents happened. And this is what I knew. I was like, okay, you've been doing this too long. Like, you've been paying attention to how other bar people act, to other bartenders. So we're sitting at Dempsey's in the glorious Camden Yards, and there's 4 people to my right, 2 seats away. First of all, they had a chick who was sitting in the aisle, like at the corner. But you know, those people who scoot the chair out 3 feet away from the bar because they want to be like the center, but they're actually on the outside, which they're in the way, but they're on the outside, but they're in the middle of the group, but they're on the outside. So it's not really okay. So one of them comes over and like nudges against me, and I bump into the rookie wife, and like I look up at him. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not a tough guy. I'm just like, hey, will you at least acknowledge that you touched another human being? No. Dude just got from the gym. He's ready to pound beers, right? At the O's game. Woo!
Oh, my God.
Right? So, one thing that's always bothered me is when assholes go to a bar and they yank out the bills and they leave the change.
Yeah.
This isn't 1937.
Right.
This change ain't going anywhere.
Right.
Do you know how long I have to save up your change to make $1?
Right.
So, like, yo, I mean, I just poured you a beer and made you a drink. Like, kick me a bucket drink. Like, I ain't, you know? So, dude snatches it out, hits me again. I was like, oh, really, bro? The change? He was like, mind your fucking business, bro. I was like, I am, dude. You're a great dude. Do me a favor, make me a little rosé. You're going crazy. We're mixing wines here, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we do it.
We are mixing Joseph Swan, Russian River Valley, Sara Lee Vineyard, Pinot Noir with, I think this is a bargain wine, 2013 Albarino, Bodega Gonzalez.
The Spanish make my favorite wines, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
I think they're the introductory wines to non-wine people.
Oh, yeah?
I think so. Especially like an Albarino, great introductory to wine. Like you can gauge your palate from there. It's very balanced. It is kind of tasty. So, getting back. Yanks a change. Fine, they're gone, right? So, the rookie wife notices, like I keep turning my head to the right, and I keep noticing these fucking retards sitting at the bar, like these fucking people are treating these people like shit. Like, I'm making things up in my head that aren't my problem. But, Kristen's like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom. Do not say anything to these people. And I said, I won't. She said, look at me. So I looked at her. I said, don't say anything to these people. I said, I won't. She's gone. She walks away. I hear her take like 5 footsteps. She has a very distinct walk. I look behind me, and I look over, and the dudes had gone to the bathroom. So I leaned over to this chick, and she had one of those men's medium tank tops that she cut in, or shirts that cut into a tank top. She had a bandana around her head. She had short hair. She had veins sticking out of nowhere. And she talked like this. Guys, you have no idea. Right? She's like straight. She's doing it, right? She's crossfitting. You know, she's crossfitting. And like her whole life is crossfitting. And this is her thing, okay? So I leaned over to her and I said, pardon me. Weren't you on a real world road rules challenge?
Shut up.
She's like, who the fuck are you? You're an asshole. Wait till my friends get back.
Oh my God.
By the way, I say, excuse me, but, and guess who's right behind me?
Dude.
Kristen.
Oh.
She's like, motherfucker, I told you not to say shit to these people.
Good for her.
Told you not
to keep you in line.
Yo, oh my God, these people, and she was like, fucking, here's some money, toss it on the bar, and we had to leave.
Yeah.
We found ourselves at our seats.
Yeah. Don't get kicked out of the game before the game starts.
I wasn't going to I just answered a question. I was like, could have been Theo Vaughn. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, but that's, like, those people, man, like, That's why I'm sincerely contemplating getting out of this business, only because I can't enjoy myself out anymore.
You got to let go of it when you're not working. Like, I used to think that I was such an annoying customer because I would go out and things would bother me so much. Like, go out to a restaurant and you ask to have your food boxed up, and then they just bring you a styrofoam clamshell and a bag, and you're like, really? You're not going to box this up? And now I know that that's not the standard. Like, people want to box up their own stuff, or places just don't do that. But I'm like, maybe I'm spoiled. I'm used to having my stuff boxed up, bagged up.
I don't mind boxing my stuff up. Here's what I do mind. What would you like on that burger? My thing is, like, I pay attention to words. This is what probably makes me a little good at my job. What would you like on your burger? Oh, bro, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise, maybe a little onion.
Cool.
Right? Mm-hmm. And they bring it to me.
And it's all on the side.
And I got to build a burger. I'm not building a burger, man. I say, hey, man, I asked for on. You asked me on. Like, I don't make the sandwich. Make my sandwich.
At Busboys and Poets, I ordered a Cobb salad. I love Busboys and Poets.
I do. It's a great place. I played there a couple times.
I ordered a Cobb salad, and it was deconstructed to the point where I felt like it was their mise en place that they just brought me on a plate. Like, it was like...
like baby mise en place.
It was like the head of lettuce, and like it was like a pile of blue cheese, a pile of avocado. Like, it was like literally not constructed.
What Busboys and Poets did you go to?
That one, I don't remember. I've been to all of them.
Hyattsville?
That was probably Hyattsville.
So,
that was the one we lived closest to at the time.
I played a couple times at the Busboys and Poets in Hyattsville. A buddy of mine used to run an open mic, and he invited me to play music down there. Weird thing is, when I went, I was the only musical act. The next time I went, there were 3 more musical acts, and I was like, you biters. But that's what I get for doing like a poetry open mic. Great place, met some great people. But the clientele is one that would typically ask for everything on the side anyway. Okay. So you might as well
have it deconstructed.
Like, all right, look, I only want 2 spoons of egg, not 4. You know what I mean? Like, things like that.
But the fact that I had to cut up my own lettuce, I was just like, come on now.
Yeah.
Why don't you give me one of those big metal bowls so I can put the dressing in
wedge?
and like
toss
give
me some tongs, like something. I don't. No. I can't fucking do that shit. Talk to me about growing up in the church.
Okay, so we went to church a lot.
What's a lot? Because I grew up. I mean, I'm from Southeast Baltimore. I grew up in the black community. What is a lot?
Wake up Sunday morning. Okay. Go to church. Sunday school starts. I believe Sunday school started at 9:30, and it was like 9:30 to 10:30. And then at 10:30, you went to the main sanctuary, and that was the worship service. So songs and singing, and then the message, the preaching, and then a couple more songs and an altar call. And at some point, there's an offering plate, So, and then you go out to eat at the Olive Garden or Fazoli's. Have you ever heard of Fazoli's? Fazoli's is like fast food Italian. Like,
no, but I did.
I don't know if it still exists, but you would go in. If there's a long line, they'll bring you breadsticks in line while you're waiting.
Okay.
But you go in and you tell them what you want. Like, I want fettuccine Alfredo, and it would have like chicken and whatever. Anyway, so or one of those, you go to a cheap place that the kids like, and with your family, and then you maybe go home and take a nap, and then you wake up and put your church clothes back on. Then you go to church at like 6:00. And then after church, then you go to like a place like Denny's or Frisch's or...
For Sunday night.
After Sunday night. Fellowshipping.
Yeah,
and our dad would talk to his friends, also from the church, all hours. And we're kids, and we're just like, dude, we got school tomorrow. And we would just be like...
What about?
What would they be talking about?
Like, so how about this? So Sunday school, you learn Bible lessons. I went to Sunday school. A couple different ones actually, and then you have main church songs and stuff like that, and then you have the message. But what's second church at like 6:00? What do you?
Sometimes it would be a visiting person, like an evangelist or a missionary, or it could just be. I don't know know if you know, when the Holy Spirit catches fire, like you go back to church. Like it could be the same. It could be the same pastor with a different message for the nighttime.
Okay.
Because all those people already been there during the day.
How big was your town? I mean, it seems like a pretty big area if the airport would buy it out. But...
So I'm thinking of Indiana because that's where I really felt at home at church.
Really?
But in Kentucky, in Kentucky, we would drive a ways to go to church. We went to different churches because if there was a certain thing that my dad disagreed with or didn't think was biblical or Christian of them, we would change churches.
I gotcha. So
my dad worked third shift at General Motors as an electrician, and he had to be at band practice because he played the trumpet with the worship team early. So before Sunday school, he had to go and practice the songs with the band, with the people on stage, which the Bible says make a joyful noise. He's like, I'm just going to show up and play. So he shows up. I forget which church this was. I feel like it was Mike Kinman. I don't know. Anyway, but he shows up and late. We're always late. Shows up and starts playing. And then the music pastor kicks him off stage in front of everyone. And obviously we left. I don't think we stayed for service.
Yeah.
But obviously we didn't go back to that church. And if we did, I think it was just for my dad to talk to them about, like, that's not cool. Like, we're worshiping God. We're not putting on a performance. And yes, you should, when you worship, you should do your best. But dude, I work third shift. I just got off work, got my family ready, and now we're here. So it's like...
Wait, did he already play with these people? Or did
yes, he played every Sunday and every Sunday night. And I don't know if you know this, but worship songs, very, very repetitive, very similar to one another.
Very much so.
And easy to sing because the congregation sings.
Let's talk about that real quick. My favorite this is gonna sound dumb. One of my it's gonna sound really dumb, especially since this culture has bastardized it. My favorite season is coming up. I love Christmas season because I buy into what I was taught about Christmas, not only religiously, spiritually, but also that kind of 1950s think of other people, make other people joyous, be with family.
Yes.
That's why I fucking hate restaurants that are open. Mm-hmm. Go fuck yourself and learn how to make a ham.
Right.
It's not that hard.
You don't even have to make a ham. You put the ham in the oven, it's already made for you.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, mashed potatoes, like, this shit's not hard.
Yeah.
So, but that's one of my favorite things. And I just found out, because of all the racial stuff that's going on lately, I think maybe Maryland, University of Maryland, is no longer going to play the song Maryland, My Maryland.
Yes.
So I listened to the song.
I did not listen to the song. Please tell me the Confederacy stuff that's in there.
Here's the thing. I don't understand a lot of what's going on, like side-wise, pick a side, this, that. Mm-hmm. There are certain things, like certain issues that I walk up onto. Like, I feel like I'm late to the party, and I'm just looking at both sides, and I'm like, all right, y'all are confusing the fuck out of me. I'm backing out of this one.
Yeah.
So, as far as Maryland, My Maryland, I listened to the song, and the only thing that really stuck out to me was, like, it named places in Maryland. I'm from Maryland, the greatest state in the Union. Now, other than that, it's Maryland, my Maryland, la 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 la. Oh, Christmas tree,
right?
Oh, Christmas tree. So I know that, like, a lot of the hymns are very similar. Mm-hmm. But that really bugged me out, man. I was like, you motherfuckers ripped off Old Christmas Tree. But it's probably the other way around. But I don't know. So that's one of those things. Like,
I think a Christmas tree was like Tannenbaum or something first.
Well, but
yeah, same.
You feel me?
Christmas.
I mean, you know how I know that?
And hymns were ripped off. The tunes to hymns were from, and this is just anecdotal, I don't know if this is true, were songs that were sung in bars. So when they went to church, they already knew the tune.
So they just put God into it.
With God words,
and so when Ray Charles was such an asshole in 1949 and put My Baby instead of God, people were like, oh my God!
Yes.
So here's one thing that I find about getting older that I think is weird, that a lot of people kind of never get out of the phase of, is that as soon as you reach a certain age and that you're kind of like paying attention, you will realize that things just repeat themselves over and over.
Yes.
Election cycles. Everybody talks about abortion, healthcare, jobs, taxes. Next 4 years, abortion, healthcare, right? But
you can't deny that even though the same issues are talked about every election cycle, whoever wins, something changes.
Not saying that.
Okay.
Not saying that.
But it's the same conversation you're saying.
But it's the same conversation.
Yeah, it is.
And so it kind of feels like if you're lucky and it's your team, you get 8 years, and if you're lucky and it's my team, you get 8 years. But it's kind of like a very narrow push and pull, like kind of like a tug of war game where the flag kind of moves and then it kind of doesn't, but the rope never breaks because we found a very sturdy rope to continue talking about.
Let's hope so. Let's hope it stays sturdy.
So, but I'm just saying, like, the conversation,
right?
And so, fashion is repetitive. Music is repetitive.
Yes.
And it, like, our thoughts are very, it's so hard to think of something else. I'll just take that and kind of put my spin on it. Like, I just went to the BMA today, the Baltimore Museum of Art.
Love it.
They have the largest Matisse collection in the world. My favorite, top 3.
Okay.
Top 3. They also have my favorite Cezanne picture. But I was looking more at sculpture today because I don't really dig sculpture. Like, it's one of those things, like, if I start getting into this, then there's nothing else. Like, I will truly be a hermit because it would
you'll never leave the house.
It would take me so long. Like, that is so, like, I could visualize painting a picture.
And you can easily paint over something that or turn your happy accident into something else when you're painting.
Ooh.
If you have a sculpture
happy
accident. And you're chiseling away at someone's torso or something, and that person's handicapped now. Like, if you mess up,
you're like, I guess he's got one arm.
Yeah.
No, not Venus de Milo, like it fell off over time. No, that's it now.
A sculptor fucked up.
But I was looking at more of that stuff, and I was like, Jesus. I don't
want to discourage you. Please sculpt if you would like to sculpt.
I don't know. I can't pick anything else. I can't pick anything else up right now.
Use Play-Doh. You can just squish it and start over.
Like, I was at first I thought, use Play-Doh. I was like philosophy? Like, how the fuck do I apply that? Play-Doh. I was like, oh, Play-Doh.
Play-Doh. I'm a mom, so I think of
I love
toys.
the way that Play-Doh smells.
Really?
I do.
All right.
I do.
Good for you.
That being said, I don't remember the last time I've touched Play-Doh. Play-Doh. So you would have the same message.
It would be a different message Sunday night.
Sunday night.
And actually, just like when you go to see the theater, if you are in a show, every performance is different. And the audience is different, or something's different. Say someone in the cast got into a huge car accident, and then they came straight and like got in costume and went on. Like, there's always something different. Like, there's some sort of dynamic that's different. And church is the same way, even if it was the same message every time. So some churches, I believe it's some Baptist sect that preaches salvation. Every single message is all about getting saved.
Yeah.
And it's still going to be different. Like, even though you're...
Well, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And I totally get that.
And then we go to church again on Wednesday night. But on Tuesday nights, I would go to Youth for Christ, which was... You met at some community center type place.
Okay. You this far, you have not exposed any kind of wildness about you. How? Because I've been around these people. And now that you are the woman that you are, how fucking boring are these things, dude? Don't lie.
I was always like the rebel of the group.
I have duck skin.
Like, even though, like, I didn't really cuss until I was like, I want to say a sophomore in college. Like,
what do you
I
mean
would
cuss?
say,
Like, shit. Like,
I would not say that.
You wouldn't say shit?
I wouldn't say, even genitalia, I would not say cock or vag or anything like that. I would say vagina and penis. And like, and I just
those are still the words I go to. I think cock sounds weird.
So
like,
disrespectful when someone said pussy or cunt or whatever. And now I'm like, I love the word cunt. I think everyone should say the word cunt. Let's bring it back, not in a
It's
derogatory way, but in a beautiful way.
In the same way that, like, fuck. Like, those two words probably hold the most emphasis only because of the consonant.
Now.
Only because of the consonant on the end, though. Like,
yeah, that's good. They're good consonants.
Like, they're like, smacks. Like,
yeah.
But I remember I used to hang out. Here's where my hillbilliness comes in. My family, other than like my mom and my dad's family are city folk.
Okay.
They're from Baltimore. Extended family, like kind of like it just shrank inward to this one place. My dad's side of the family is definitely from Baltimore. But my mom's side of the family is my grandmother, who lives in Texas now, not anywhere near the floodplain, thankfully, but hope everything is going to work out okay down there in Houston's fucked up. But she's from Texas, so that's where I got my old country liking, like musically. Patsy Cline, Hank Williams, like I dug really deep into that for a long time because of her. And my grandfather was from a very country place in northeast Ohio, in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Okay. So like they traveled around. My mom's from Alabama. My mom was born in Montana. Uncle in Alabama. Mm-hmm. My aunt here. But my uncle lived on the Outer Banks. Okay. Glorious, right? You think?
Yeah.
Beach?
No.
No. These are white people who live on the Outer Banks, which means like they're like inward marshland, like hillbilly folk, trailers. Okay. I'm not putting down trailers. I love trailers. Like I love stepping into a trailer with a rickety floor. Like that shit scares me and pleases me so much.
It scares me and pleases me.
I feel so at home. Like the water tastes thick.
Water.
The water definitely tastes thick coming from a trailer. Well, but I would spend time down there, dude, and I love that hillbilly shit, dude. I don't know where the fuck I started getting on my uncle.
I don't know, but same, like, so my grandparents are from more southern places in Kentucky. My grandmother was from, I want to say, Livingston? Is that a place? And my grandfather was from Hazard.
Stop it.
But the Dukes of Hazzard are not, that's not a real place. I think they're...
Hazard County is, well, I'm sure there is a place called Hazard County, but it's
Hazard
not...
City, not that it's a city, but I believe he was from Hazard. I don't think there's a Hazard County.
Isn't it dope that you could call, like, if somebody lived in, like, your made-up town, like, when you traveled across country in the 18-whatevers, like, 40s, you could just go, hey, this is, like, James City. Like,
you just
call it, hey, it's James
name
City.
the spot.
Yeah.
Whatever's hanging out.
So they're from smaller...
Yes. And growing up, my great-grandmother, my grandfather's mom, her name, we called her Granny, Elizabeth Begley, she lived in a trailer. And I didn't even know it was a trailer. I didn't know what a trailer was. It wasn't in a trailer park. It was just like lots of land. There's a trailer. And I think it was a double wide because it seemed kind of big inside. Yeah. And there was a refrigerator on the porch, which was fantastic. And there was an outhouse that nobody used. It was like a rickety old rotten sitting there outhouse. And we would go there, and she had pigs and chickens, so she had a lot of land. But yeah, that's my trailer experience. And when I discovered trailer parks, I was like, what is this business? Like,
so I had a lot of fun in my uncle's trailer park. A lot of fun in my uncle's trailer park.
I guess everybody knows everybody.
You do. It's a very
tight-knit community.
It's very strange. So I'm born and raised in Southeast Baltimore, and I went to high school in Baltimore until my junior year. My junior year, I lived with my uncle on the Outer Banks. Okay. And I went to
in a trailer park.
In a trailer park.
Okay. Love that. You're like smiling about how fondly you're thinking of the trailer park.
Well, there's a particular view that I'm remembering fondly. So I went to Currituck County High School, and super dope school. This is where my head got big as fuck.
Oh, because you like played soccer or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I met these two girls, and they befriended me. The funny thing is that her older brother has my name, and I was living with my younger cousin, that was her name.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So I met this girl with the same name as my younger cousin. It just so happened that her older brother was my name.
That's crazy.
And so us three would just hang out. And here's where I realized that white people are different than the people that I grew up with, which
I grew up with all white people.
So are you used to using someone's first and last name when you say, hey, James Smith and Angie McCullen and I were over Peter Sellers' house?
No.
This is the kind. So
because lots of people have the same first name. Is that why?
I think so.
Okay.
Because where I'm from,
certain people like John Teagle, always first and last name. Don't know why, or just Teagle.
Yeah.
You're gonna shorten it. But there are certain people where I use the first and last name, but I don't think it has anything to do with anything. And plus, he's black.
Dude, I don't I shorten people's names or I add to their name.
Okay.
And then that's their name.
Okay.
There are people that I've known my whole life, and I'm like, oh yeah, surname, because I don't call them that.
Right.
I'm from around the people where you either go one first name, one nickname, last name. Like if there's two Billies, you're Smith.
Right.
Yo, Smith and Billy.
Right.
It's not Billy and Billy Smith. But these people were like, oh, we're going over blankety 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 blankety. It sounded like a law firm. I'm like, okay, so you people are getting fucking creepy with me. And then I move up to Silverton Park, not too far from here, and a different class of white people did the same thing. And I was like, what is different about, so I don't know.
Is Silverton Park a richer area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bob, Wheel of Fortune.
Right. Sajak.
No, Pat Sajak. Pat Sajak's house is around the corner from my grandmother's old house.
Okay. Is he still alive?
Fuck yeah. He's spinning that wheel like a motherfucker. Brian's like, let's give him 2 beans.
Good for him.
Let's give him 2
Vanna
beans.
still on?
Yeah.
All right. Good for them.
Still in white. Surprisingly enough. It's just not a surname. It's she really walking the white ground. Really walking the white ground.
Yeah, where I grew up in Kentucky, it was... I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you, but it was all white. And we were called, so give your listeners a background. My mother's from Thailand. My dad's white. My mom had pretty dark skin, darker than mine. She also worked out in the garden, did all that stuff, worked out in the sun, went for walks, rode the bike, whatever.
One of the more brown Southeast Asians, not the lighter...
Right, not the blended with Chinese ancestry, blah, blah, blah.
Totally.
So darker skin. And we were called the N-word. Eggs were thrown out our garage all the time.
What?
At our cars. People wrote China or bust in soap on the back of my dad's Buick.
He's not even Chinese.
Not at all.
Not even close.
And they would call us Chinese. They called my older sister Chinese flat nose because she has kind of a flat face.
Yeah.
They called her Chinese flat nose. It's do you not know that there are different countries in Asia?
So here...
And they don't. They didn't. They didn't know that.
Why would you know that?
Why would they know that?
Here's where... So I thought a lot of time about thinking this. About this. When you see people of straight black hair speaking of a form of Spanish with a darker skin, you call them Mexicans.
Okay.
Not you personally, but in general. Or people would call people with almond eyes, very light complexions, very slender builds, Chinese. I thought about that and I was like, well, maybe.
That's true. Everyone calls everyone of Hispanic descent Mexicans all the time.
But yo, check this out. The reason, and I even looked into this because I was like, because my mind can have 2 separate viewpoints, and then inside I battle them because I'm retarded, because I have nothing else to think about. So I even looked this up. Spain has half the population that Mexico does. Okay, you look at the countries in Central America. This is not counting South Americans, because South Americans have a completely distinctive look, in my opinion. Not all of them.
Gotcha.
I'm being general.
Yeah.
But Central America up to Mexico, you can't really have that many people in Central America compared to all of Mexico. Obviously, most of it's land and it's condensed area. But Spain has a lot of Spanish speakers too, right? But there's a Spanish person and an actual Mexican standing side by side talking, you would call them both Mexican. Because there's more Mexicans than all of other Spanish-speaking countries and from Central and America and including Spain.
Okay.
And there's more Chinese than all people in Southeast Asia. Now,
I see what you're saying.
Obviously.
But it still pisses me off.
Obviously. Wait,
because
obviously.
That person's not Mexican. That person's Salvadorian. That person's Cuban. That person's Puerto Rican.
Which is why that's how I understand what they're thinking.
Okay. And plus, Mexico's the closest place to us. And even if someone is coming from another country, they may go through Mexico.
Totally.
So they think they're coming from Mexico.
But that's how I'm able to process what crazy thoughts are, because I can think, well, why does this person think this, and how can I go as far with this as possible, so that way maybe I can understand their thinking. But like I said, there's also a lot of issues where I'm just like, oh, you think this? All right. I gotta go to see a man about a horse. I can't help you with that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man, so many of them come to the bar, and people are like, "Are you listening to us?" And I'm like, "I know, I don't listen to your all's conversations. I'm, doing my work."
But really,
I'm judging you.
It's also part of your nature and your profession, which leads into the benefit of your profession, that you're naturally observant.
Yes.
So your dad, as a white guy, a Bible beater from Kentucky.
Yeah.
What was your first musical love?
My first, you won't know this person. Her name was Betty Jean Robinson. She was an evangelist who sang on this Christian channel on regular TV, meaning not cable, because we didn't have cable. TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network. Betty Jean Robinson was this older woman. She might have been, I don't know how old she was at the time, but she was very country. Longer skirt, poofy hair, and she sang this song called Ain't No Grave, and it was my favorite song. I loved it. And it was the tune, the melody is probably a copy from some blues song or whatever, but it's like, ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Ain't no grave gonna hold my body down. Me, Jesus. Me in the middle of the air. I'm gonna rise to see my Lord, and I ain't gonna... Whatever, I don't remember the words. Totally. But doesn't it sound familiar?
No, well, I can definitely see where you would say that it's more than likely a copy from like a blues. Do you know who... And I've only discovered her late. Do you know Sister Rosetta Tharpe?
I have heard of her.
Up above my head.
Yes.
There were whispers everywhere. Up above my head. Like that. Okay. This might sound dumb. Okay. But here's how I know God exists. As I went down to the river to pray, studying about that good old way, oh, how can we... Like, when you sing those notes, right? And I'm an emotional guy.
Yeah.
But you can't fake that.
Right.
Where does that emotion come from?
So you're saying that it's from God?
That right there. That brushstroke, that word, that line.
Yeah.
That connects. That...
It does.
Go to sleep, you little baby.
Yeah. I sing that to my baby.
That is something that connects two people. Connects you to a group of people.
Yes.
That's the inward going outward.
Yes. Even when you go to a concert, and it's not a Christian concert, but when everyone sings something in unison, like the chorus to a song or whatever, hums a part of, even if it's like Pearl Jam or whatever, like when you're there and everyone's singing and it's all, and it makes you have goosebumps. Like that commonality, that everyone's moved.
It
of
was
the same thing?
2002. 2002. And no, what the fuck am I talking about? It wasn't 2002. It was 1999. HF Festival, 1999. And
Oh my god, I think I was there. We were at the same HF Festival.
So, Seven Dust was probably the fourth or maybe fifth band in. We had been in the pit all morning.
Seven Dust was awesome.
And I like them a lot. I like obviously all kinds of music, but I like them a lot just in a general term. But if I hear them, I enjoy it. And I got up, it was at RFK, and I got up on the first grandstand and keep chilling. And they had 15,000 people that were, like, it was the entire floor of the football stadium was filled.
Yep.
They had 15, I would say easy, 15,000.
That was at FedEx Field right that year, right?
No. FedEx wasn't there yet.
It was the year before.
It was at RFK.
Okay.
And,
Got it.
So the entire field was full.
Yeah.
And everybody was jumping up and down. And I was like, that's fucking incredible. That's what every group should aspire to. Not fame and fortune. That. Everybody's on your vibe.
Yeah.
Granted, I was 17 years old and extremely stoned.
Yeah.
That's where I bought my first bowl. Like I took weed, but I didn't take anything to smoke it out of, and I still to this day can't hold a joint. So like somebody was selling bowls for $10, and I definitely bought one. Made the use out of that. So when you went to college after going to church all the time, obviously, like, was school ever hard for you because you were so regimented in the other way?
My older sister, who's 13 months older than me, she was the year before me in school. She was very studious, very bright. She wasn't very, I want to say she wasn't very, like, social in the sense that I am. She wasn't as quote unquote cool. Like I wouldn't say I was cool, but like she wasn't. Anyway, she was more nerdy, and she studied a lot, and she was a very hard worker, and she was so smart. Like, for instance, when we were even younger, she had all the books. She had the bookshelf of all of our books in her bedroom, and when we wanted a book, we had to check it out from her library, and then she would charge us late fees if we didn't turn it in time.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, so she was that. She was the rule follower. That was her. And me, I'm like fast and loose all the time. Like if there's a rule, I'm going to break it, and I'm going to try to get away with breaking it, and I'm going to try to justify why I broke it. And so that was always me. Even though I was pretty much a good kid until maybe senior year of high school, I skipped school a lot, and because I knew I could get away with it. But school was not easy for me. I had an easy time because I didn't really do much work. I did the bare minimum. I would get a couple of A's, a couple of B's, and a couple of C's.
You totally knew your freedom.
When I was, I was not a good student. And my dad would be so frustrated. And he would say, you were so bright, you were so smart, you know the difference between a C and an A is like that 15 minutes more of studying. And I'm like, I know, but I don't want to study for 15 more minutes. I want to play, or I want to sing, or whatever I wanted to do, which was not studying. And, school was not, it wasn't hard for me. It just wasn't easy for me. The thing that was hard for me was there were so many awesome people, and even though they thought of me as an other, I thought of them as the group. You know, these are the people that are in my world. And there were jocks and popular kids and nerdy kids, and I was definitely a nerd. Definitely a nerd.
I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to hold that thought.
Okay.
Hold that thought. You're supposed to be looking a certain way. That you are the attractive. Right. Quote unquote, the quote unquote attractive. I've never really understood why people say, oh man, that such and such is gross. Why? Because you heard it in magazines? I don't understand that. Like, that's... So I look at everything, and I find the beauty in, especially women, all women, shapes, sizes, colors, forms. I love that one intimate moment when two strangers are about to make love, one of my favorite phrases, and I use it fondly, for the first time. And it's such an uneasy experience, but you get to see somebody in their raw, stripped down, vulnerable state, right? That's a beautiful thing, because you acknowledge, at least I do, that person is vulnerable right now and needs, in some way, a comfort, a reassurance. And that's a very pretty thing. Before we took a break, because Lord knows I have a very small bladder, now you do too, we were talking about the outside. Christina just mentioned something about she was on the outside to the group, but the group to her was her group. Now,
because I didn't have another group. I had a church group, but my school group was my school group.
did you have various groups of friends within your...
Yes.
So you had the music friends, you had the arts friends, you had the jock friends, you had the pretty friends, you had the geek friends.
Well, I took all AP classes, and even though I didn't score as high in them as my peers, like I would get a B and they would get an A, whatever, I considered those, even though I wasn't close with a lot of them, I considered they were all my group because I had every class with these people. And I'm sure there was this one girl, Michelle West, and she was such a bitch to me. But in a way, I loved her because she was like, she always sat next to me. She was not pretty by any means. She was mean. She was a really mean girl. And she constantly like called me out on my shit. Like, she brought to light things. She talked about people. And I just I hated her guts. But at the same time, she was familiar to me. And I wouldn't consider her a friend, but she was definitely a constant in my life in every class. Because my last name was Walker. My maiden name's Walker. And her last name is West.
Gotcha.
And so we always sat next to each other or near each other. And but my friends who I ate lunch with, which in high school is definitely your core group of friends, definitely all the nerds. And I didn't realize any of this until years later when I was like watching that movie Mean Girls. And I'm like, oh yeah, I was a nerd. I just thought I was like this cool chick that was friends with everybody. But I mean, I guess in a way I was, but definitely ate lunch with the nerds.
The reason why I wanted you to hold on to that point was because I was actually just thinking about this today in the shower, where all your good thoughts come.
Shower thoughts.
And I was thinking about, because there were my brothers. Mm-hmm. I was with them 8 times out of 10 in a various form. But especially when we got to high school, scratch that. Up until probably middle school, because they were a year above me, actually 2 years above me.
Okay.
You want to know some fucked up shit? Catholic school, Mrs. Fitzpatrick, 5th grade. My mom paid her to tutor me in 5th grade, and she still failed me.
That bitch. She failed as a tutor.
My mom should have been absolutely livid. Anyway, we're not getting into that.
Okay.
So I was actually 2 grades behind them, so they were in 8th grade. I was supposed to be in 7th grade, but I was in 6th grade. So
okay.
I already had a group of friends from school, right? And then I would have Mike and Dave. And then when especially we got to high school, I went to a different high school than both of them, because Brother Dave went to Patterson, Mike moved out to the county with his family.
Okay.
And so he had his group of friends that we would eventually hang out with and mingle with, and Dave had his friends from high school. I had friends in high school, but I bused to school. Literally, I took the city bus up into the northeast side or the northwest side by Old Memorial Park, and that's it. I had those friends there. I had a couple friends that we would skip school together and we would go out and we would just tramp around the city. Mm-hmm. But they never came around Dave and Mike. Okay. So I had that group of friends, and then I already moved 3 high schools in high school, so I had a bunch of different groups. So I felt in the group, a part of the group, but in all actuality, I was outside everybody's group. Yep. I was a random core that could plug into one of those universal outlets.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you how out of touch I was with thinking that all of these people are my big group, but none of those people were any of my group. there was this girl, Jennifer, who was my BFF, Jennifer Womble, so she also sat next to me all the time. Such a huge nerd, loved her. And she was about to turn 16, and I was 15, and I was like, I'm going to throw her a huge party. And her parents were well-to-do. They lived near the school. Everybody knew where she lived. She was like right on the block of the school. And I invited like 40 people to this party, sent out invitations, talked it up, like thinking everyone's going to come. Little did I know, this is how much of a nerd I was. I really, really thought everybody was coming to this party. I told her mom to get a full sheet cake. And then I was like, hey, last minute I was like, hey, can my sister and my cousin come? Because my sister, who was 13 months older than me, Angela, she was one of my BFFs. And my cousin, who was my age, also BFF. Those were basically my two best friends growing up.
Of course.
And they knew everything about, my family and everything, so because they were a part of it. But so I'm like, can I bring my sister and my cousin? So we get all dolled up as much as 15 and 16-year-olds can get. And we go to this party, and no one comes. And we ended up playing volleyball with her big brother in the backyard. And her mom starts cutting up this sheet cake and putting it in Ziploc bags and freezing it.
No way.
Like, we each had a piece of cake, and we were just like, yeah.
Damn.
It was awful. This poor girl, Not only did no one show up for her party, but to me, I was a failure because I was like, no one, like, I thought everyone was coming because they were like, yeah, okay, I know where that is. Okay, cool. Jennifer, yeah. And, like, oh, that poor girl. That poor girl. No one came. No one. Except for my sister, my cousin, and her big brother. That is literally all who showed up.
Jennifer,
and no one said,
Jennifer
no,
Womble.
I'm not coming.
I know.
No one said, no, I'm not coming.
Nobody ever wants to say that.
Those fuckers.
Nobody ever wants to say that.
This day and age especially is horrible. It's like you text and like Aziz Ansari actually has a little stand-up bit about it. It's like you never know if someone's going to meet you or not, ever.
Ever. It's just like we don't have telephones anymore.
Yeah. Just this morning I had breakfast plans because for some reason my child, who is 13 months old, he takes this long nap in the middle of the afternoon. And I used to love to go out to lunch with Katie and Caitlin and used to love to go out to lunch.
Yeah.
And bring the baby. Bring the baby.
Why not?
And he would sleep or whatever, not sleep, whatever. But from 10 a.m., sometimes 11 if he's up playing or whatever, until 1:30 or 2. So he'll take a long nap in the afternoon. So there goes my lunch plans, right?
Totally.
So I'm like, hey, Caitlin, let's meet at 8 a.m., for breakfast, or we can even do 9, but my baby's going to go to sleep at 10.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, cool. And then, she had to stay late at work last night, and so did I, because I ended up doing liquor inventory. But, it's like last minute. Like, we had these plans for a couple days, and last minute, it's like, yeah, I'm not coming. And it's like, motherfucker! Which is fine. Yeah, I can sleep in, too, but...
So
I just want someone to keep some plans every once in a while. Just keep some plans. Just say you're going to be somewhere and then go. And I have a friend that does not have a cell phone and he does not have Facebook. And I swear this is beneficial to him in the sense that when he makes plans with someone via email or telephone, because that he doesn't have a cell phone, I can be like, hey, something came up.
Yeah, totally.
He will just literally show up to the spot. And he lives in Philly. So when we had like lunch plans and then we ended up going to the Baltimore Museum of Art one day, I knew he was going to be there. And if he wasn't going to be there, I was going to wait until he showed up because
completely.
He doesn't have a phone.
People, here's my biggest thing with cell phones. Well, what if you get stranded on the road?
Then you get out of your car. What's the first
fucking time it's ever happened in history? Calm yourself.
You get out of your car and someone stops.
Calm yourself. It'll be all right. We've backed ourselves into a corner with this shit that we think that we need it. I don't fucking need that shit. It's ridiculous. So you didn't start swearing until college. When did you?
I probably said a couple cuss words, but I didn't really start.
When's the first time you drank?
The first time I took a sip of alcohol, I don't know how old I was. I'm sure I was a teenager. My cousin Heather, who was my best friend, she had an older sister, several years older than her. and we opened up the trunk of her car, and there was a partial bottle of Seagram's 7 in that trunk.
Fuck yeah, Seagram's 7.
And she's like, it was kind of like, I'll take a drink if you take a drink. And so I took the tiniest little sip, and I was like, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted in my life. And then she took a big old swallow. And then there was some other random guy. This is apartments, like middle class, lower middle class apartments in Florence, Kentucky. And some random dude, some long hair, quote unquote rocker dude, heavy metal head, and we're 15 or 14 probably.
Prime.
And plus we're like all dolled up. Like we're all the time. Like we would, before we walked out of the house, even if we were just walking out to hang outside on a park bench or something, we would do our hair, put our makeup on, do our eyeliner, put our cross earrings in and our cross necklaces, and and we would. So anyway, we take a sip of the Seagram 7, and I think it's just terrible. And she probably had a drink before then. But dude comes up to us, and he's like, "Hey, girls," and we're like, "Hey," and we think we're like so hot,
of course. And
he's just like, "You two are jailbait, aren't you? Jailbait? Have you heard that term in a minute? Jailbait." And we're like, I think we pulled that like 80s movie line where it's like, how old do you want me to be?
One little secret.
Dude just like hightails it out of there. I think he may have like let her have a drag off of his cigarette or something. And then he was just like, yeah, y'all are jailbait.
Yeah, whoa.
Yeah, because from a distance, all he saw was hair and a figure.
And bitch sipping from a bottle.
Yes.
Of course. Like,
drinking out of, he thought we were partying. And then he was just like, yeah, those girls just had their first sip of alcohol. But then my second sip of alcohol, I was 16, I guess. And this dude I had my first date with, Doug Land, Kokomo High School, class of 93. He made this, he called it Burgundy. Clearly it wasn't from Burgundy, but he made this wine in this big old jug that sat on top of his refrigerator. And I don't know what he put in it. It had spice. It was like kind of like mulled wine. It had like spices in it, and like it was definitely not filtered. It had chunks in it. And it just tasted like rotten fruit. I drank some rotten fruit. And then we went up to his room and we're making out. And I was like, do your parents care that? Because they were downstairs watching TV. I was like, don't your parents care that we're up here making out? And he's like, no. Because if it was my dad, if we were making out at my house, my dad would be in there with a gun, a shotgun.
Wait, how old were you at this time?
16.
Dude, so, on top of that, there was, I would say, probably my first real girlfriend. Her name was Angie. She lived in Currituck. So my school experience down in Currituck County started off in a very weird way. It started off with my uncle knew the soccer coach. Hey, my son's new to the school. Can you try out for the team? Cool. So I already got together with the guys from the soccer team. I already had friends with them, right? And the first week of school, I get invited to all the parties.
Okay.
Because the soccer kids were the rich white kids, the middle-class white kids.
You were in.
The poor white kids. So I went to hillbilly parties, semi-hillbilly parties, and white parties.
Okay.
So the first party I go to...
This is Serena Park?
No, this is in Currituck County. This is in the Outer Banks.
Outer Banks. Okay, yeah.
This is the country gym.
Got it.
So
wait, you were living in the trailer park.
Yeah.
But you were in with all the rich kids, I
was in with everybody because I was the new kid also.
Because you were the new kid and you were the soccer player.
And I was a soccer player.
Got it. And you were good.
The first party I went to was like a white party that it was like kids who thought that they were Rasta.
Oh, that's amazing.
This is when 311 was God to these white kids, like actual reggae music to them.
Right.
I'm not dissing 311. I'm just saying people still go to see them live for reasons unknown. So these white kids were jamming, and I picked up a guitar and I started jamming, and it was cool, right? Yeah. Well, I go outside and I'm waiting for a buddy to come out, and I'm sitting in this car, and this girl gets in the driver's seat of this empty car while I'm sitting, and she is so wasted. She's so wasted. And she's like, hey, hey, you're so cute, yada yada. You know, like she starts doing this, and then she starts to like look like she's about to get ill. So I open my door, lean her out. She starts to get ill, like I'm taking care of her, whatever, and that's it, right? Wait.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets ill. I take care, nurse her back to whatever state she came in.
Right.
And then my friend came, and then we left. We find ourselves at another party. This was like not that advanced.
Same
and,
night?
like, same night.
Okay.
Same night. We go to a different party. Me and a different friend leave that party, go to a different party.
Got it.
Different group of people, though. So therefore, these kids weren't really drinking. Some of them were sneaking sips. Some of them were sneaking hails of cigarettes. Hails, if you remember that.
No.
Well, you take a hail, you know.
Like an inhale?
Like an inhale. Like,
okay.
let me get a hail of that.
No, that must be a Outer Banks thing.
And, let me get a hail of that Marlboro. And then, like, so some of them were smoking, but not really. Some of them were kind of drinking, but not really. And then everybody, I'm already kind of drunk from that party before because everybody's fucking mixing vodka and Sprite. You don't taste that shit. So I hop in the pool, and everybody's like, yo, Casey's hopping in the pool. Everybody hops in the pool, right? Everybody hops in the pool.
Right.
There's 30 people in this pool now because my dumb ass said, fuck yeah, I'll jump in the pool with my shoes on because I'm a retard. I don't have to go home 45 minutes away. Everything's 45 minutes away in the country, as you know.
Yes.
So I hop in this pool, and then we find ourselves at this bonfire, and I'm huddled around this girl in a blanket. This is Friday. I kiss this girl in the blanket. You know, little 17 high school kisses.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody's soaking fucking wet. Monday. Casey, you're a hero. Girl would have died if it weren't for you. You got her, like, you nursed her back to health. She was going to throw up on herself and throw up in my car. You're a fucking brilliant. You saved her life. And by the way,
hero.
I heard you're dating Angela now. Like,
because you gave her baby kisses
and I was
on
like,
the neck.
I was like, dude, by the way, this is like, everybody goes, like, the school drops you off. You either hang out in the back of the school or in the lobby before the bell rings and everybody disperses to their classes. I'm in the middle of the lobby and everybody's around me, and it's extremely uncomfortable.
That's true, though. Girls think that way. I remember that dude that I made out with, and he had the burgundy wine, the quote-unquote burgundy wine. He, like, I was just, I was like, are you using me? He was like, what do you mean? And I was like, do you really like me? He's like, yeah. Do you love me? I don't know yet. Do we have a future together? He was like, what? Like, honestly, I was like, if he wrote me these cute little notes, and then we went on our first, and it was literally my first date ever, and it was like when my parents were out of town because I was not allowed to date, and yeah, so that's how I thought. I was like, if he's making out with me, then he better be my boyfriend, right? And
totally.
He definitely wasn't. And one of my girlfriends, who Carrie, she she was like, yeah, I had sex with Doug. And I was like, I had sex with Doug. And she's like, I think I might be pregnant. And I was like, I think I might be pregnant. And my stupid ass, the reason I thought I might be pregnant was because I had sex. I mean, I wasn't on birth control, but the condom didn't break or anything like that. Her condom broke.
How old are you?
16.
Okay.
So I'm like, we could both be pregnant. And then I told my friend Dave, who was friends with Doug, and Dave was like, Doug might be a double dad.
Double dad Doug.
And my friend David, we were super tight, me and David. He was like my best friend in my senior year of high school. He was my best dude that we skipped school every day. And actually we went to Doug's house and hung out in his hot tub Years later, I found out that my dad, who I thought would show up with a shotgun if he saw me with a dude ever, he knew about me skipping school and hanging out in dude's hot tub.
Oh my
he like
goodness.
knew what kind of car they drove, and I was like, "What were you spying on me?"
Wow.
He was like, "I just knew. I knew.
had to know. Had to know.
Wanted to make sure you weren't getting into any real trouble."
That is hysterical.
Yeah, double dad Doug.
So there was
Neither
Angie.
of us were pregnant, I don't think.
And Angie came from a white family. Mm-hmm. Like a white family. Mm-hmm. Like with a real nice house. Like, I think the house that you're living in right now is very pretty. Like I would really like to live in a house like this, very wide open room.
If it wasn't full of 10 crazy people, then it would be amazing.
Nonetheless, this is a white family.
Yeah.
Who lives off a road that's off a road, who has a real nice house.
Yeah.
By the way, Angie was a softball player. Here's the thing I have a problem with. So, you may or may not know, I'm a chubby chaser. Okay, they don't run fast. I can catch them. Okay, I can catch them. So, but also that's why I have a problem with people who hate softball players. Softball players tend to be a little chubby, especially thick in the legs and the ass because they run a lot. That's my favorite kind.
They strong, thick.
But they thick. You know, they got it going on. Also,
it's not like they're couch potatoes. Anyway, sorry. Carry on. Chubby chaser.
You know,
Angie.
I'm from.
So is Angie chubby?
Angie was chubby. She was just a chubby girl, though. Like,
okay.
Now looking back at it, she was just a chubby girl. The thoughts that just came to my head about Angie, but I'm not going to say because I respect her. What I'm saying is that this white family was like, okay, by the way, she had like 4 older brothers. She was a baby. She was like 14 years younger than her next brother. She was like the last, like, oh, I guess we're going to have another one.
Right.
That being said, with all that knowledge, they let us go upstairs and hang out.
Okay.
You know, one time I was left with a little remnants, let's just say. Little remnants of the first situation. Went completely unnoticed, unmentioned whatsoever. They knew exactly what was going on. It was so... They had to. I don't understand. So... There's not a goddamn chance that there are going to be any locked doors, any closed doors. Mm-hmm. I'll rip the hinges off. There'll be some beads in that motherfucker. Like,
oh, yeah.
I know exactly what's going on. I know exactly what's going on.
I was just thinking about that today. Like, I'm never letting my son do anything ever. I'm going to secretly spy on him. You can never get caught, because then they'll hate you for the rest of your life.
Of course.
But, dude, I'm going to spy on him. Like, I was... horrible. I did all kinds of stuff.
Well, especially
we smoked packs and packs of cigarettes when we were like 13, 14. Like,
dude, I've always and see Mike, without putting this in a very in a negative way. Mm-hmm. Mike has a schemer's mind. Not a criminal mind.
Gotcha.
But if he sees a straight line, he's like, yo, I bet you I can curve this motherfucker. Yeah, I can curve this motherfucker. Like, and he will that shit until it's curved. Dave is a straight-laced, Marine, beautiful human being. Mm-hmm. Somebody that is my idol. In all ways. Yeah. Parenting, human being-wise. Just a natural dude who has God in his heart. Okay? But I was always drawn to the darkness. What's around that corner?
Who's not drawn to the darkness?
What's around that corner?
Right.
So when my friends had cigarettes, I had a cigarette.
Yeah.
When my friends got drunk, I got drunk. But I got drunker. I smoked more cigarettes. You know, like I did extra shit. Because I like to see how deep I could go.
Yeah.
You know, and dude, we used to smoke leaves because we couldn't find cigarettes.
Oh my gosh, my sister and I did that. It was those... tiger lilies have these like round like reed looking things, and we would like break those off and smoke them.
Dude, do you know how unbelievably that's worse than the cigarettes?
I forgot all about that. Can I have a cigarette?
Yeah, please. It's worse than these things. Like, you're like, people die from inhaling leaves, yo, and we're like,
let's do this.
We're on
I don't
camping
know
trips.
if we
We're
inhaled.
like,
we may not have inhaled.
No, fuck that. I think I've been inhaled. Like, that's why like it's troublesome for me to smoke cigars.
Oh yeah, terrible. Sick, like stomach sickness from smoking cigars. I know you're not supposed to inhale, but it's like a habit, I guess.
It is.
Breathing is a habit.
It's a terrible habit. What about musically? Like, when did you start exploring other things musically?
So all through up until probably college, because I always listened to Christian everything: Christian rock, Christian contemporary, adult Christian worship, Christian gospel, all through high school.
No pun intended.
And then when I went to college, I was, when I went to college, I still wanted to be in the choir. I love singing. And I auditioned for university choir, which is kind of looking back, because I belong to I subscribe or follow their Instagram pages of these choirs from college, and they are the whitest group of people trying to sing some soulful songs, and it's terrible, dude. It is awful. And I'm like, that was me. I was singing, but I was also in this other group called BVOI, Black Voices of Inspiration, and I was obviously not black. I was one of 4 non-black people that were accepted into the choir. And everybody's clapping on the right beat, and we're clapping on the wrong beat. Everybody's on the down beat, and we're just like the ones in the 2, or the ones in the 3s, and they're on the 2s and the 4s. And we could not get it together. But we still worshipped. We still ministered. But it was the Black Cultural Center is where they had the practices, the rehearsals, and we would have shows and stuff in the student union, and that was the best choir to be in. Like, they were very strict. Like, I thought university choir was strict because it was like, if you're not on time, you had to be on time, you had to be looking great, you had to have your hair curled a certain way, your dress had to be ironed a certain way, you just had to look beautiful, big rhinestone earrings, big rhinestone necklace, like, you had to look great, you had to sing great, all that stuff. Black Voices of Inspiration, you just wore like a black dress of whatever you wanted. But man, in those rehearsals, the choir director, I forget his name, but he would point to you, like everybody would be singing together, and he would point to one person, and you would keep singing, and everybody else would stop. Or everybody would be standing on one foot, or everybody would be like spinning around while they were singing. Like, it was just like, it was difficult, and it was fun. It was awesome. I've never been it was very disciplined.
You know, one of my favorite experiences performing or speaking publicly, all of them, of my positive experiences have been with black audiences.
They give you the most feedback.
Positive or negative.
Yes.
And here's what you have to know. Here are your guidelines.
Be real.
Do you have a soul?
Yes.
Are you using it?
Yes, exactly. Be real, have soul, have heart.
It doesn't have to be even in their wheelhouse of enjoyment.
Exactly.
It's
the greatest.
This is a real dumb way to say it, but recognize real. And those, like, I can go up and do my pop soul thing, and people are like, got it, I see it. Cool, I dig it. White audiences,
you never know. They're just
you never
there.
know.
They might be tapping their foot, but you can't see it from where you are.
They're so vanilla.
Yeah.
They're like, I get it. You know, and which is one thing.
You might have one drunk person that's feeling you.
Yeah, maybe. And that's the woman that wants to take you. That's the one that wants to take you out.
She's in love with you.
Who wants to buy you drinks after your set and take you back to her place, even though she drives a Miata and you have a guitar in your hand. Not saying that from personal experience.
Miata.
By the way, I'm not saying that she even fit the Miata.
Was it a Miata or was it really a Mercury Capri?
No, it was a Miata. It was a fucking Miata. So I don't know. I love those experiences.
Yes.
When you get accepted by a group that's quote unquote on the outside of how you feel or how you think you are supposed to be, that's the most validating.
Yes.
There's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Nothing better than that. What was your coming out party? You still carry a lot of that with you, but I think a lot of your early nature, like, you veered severely. It's noticeable.
I went crazy after I graduated from college.
What year was this?
I graduated in 1999. Oh, wow. I had one class short of graduating on time, so I had to take summer school.
Yeah, fuck it.
So I graduated in August of 1999, and I moved to Maryland because my sister lived here because she was the nerd. She worked for like NASA Goddard. She was an aerospace engineer, and so was her husband. And so they lived out here. And I was a theater major, and I was supposed to move to Chicago with my friend Michelle, and we ended up having like a little tiff about money. And because I was eating out instead of saving, and I should have been saving. To this day, I'm not a very good saver. I'm working on it. But anyway, so I ended up moving in with my sister and her husband. They were newlyweds. God bless them for taking me in. And I ended up falling in love with Marilyn, falling in love with a dude and who I'm not together with anymore. But ended up meeting my husband and having a baby and having a great life. But anyway, so I moved to Maryland. I was working in this bar, trying to be a bartender because I saw how much more money they made than I did as a cocktail waitress and daytime lunch server. And I met this girl shooting pool, and she had a very familiar accent. She was from Somerset, Kentucky. And I was like, where are you from? She goes, where are you from? And I was like, Kentucky. She goes, oh, I'm from Somerset. And so we got to talking, and I think we have people in Somerset, meaning we have kin. We have kin in Somerset, some family, distant relatives in Somerset. BT Dubs, if you are...
By the way, go ahead.
If you have kin anywhere, you better see them. Like if you're in freaking Seattle or Orlando or wherever you are, if you know you have kin in that city, you best call them and best stop by. And they don't even have to ever have met you. You just say, I'm Dale's daughter, I'm Lucille's granddaughter, I'm Houston's granddaughter, I'm Barbara's niece, whatever. And they will take you in, feed you a meal, be glad to see you, hang out with you, tell you where you need to go in the town, whatever. Anyway, that's a side note. But anyway, I was like, I think we have kin in Somerset. And so we get to talking or whatever. And I'm like, what do you do? And she goes, I sell meat off the back of a truck. And I just laughed. I was like, what? She was like, me and my partner, my friend Rachel, we drive a truck around, pickup truck with a cooler in the back, and we sell meat door to door. And we don't have any Uncle Sam, and we don't have any boss breathing down our neck. And I was like, that sounds good. And, my idiot self thought that was a great idea. And she goes, well, Rachel, she needs to go to rehab. So me and you'll be my new partner. And girl, Jennifer Whitaker.
Another W.
I'm dropping another W. I'm dropping a lot of last names here.
You're dropping a lot of knowledge.
Fuck
that.
So Jennifer Whitaker and I.
I'm selling meat out of the back of a truck. My partner has to go to rehab. What are you doing? So I worked at this bar August, and then in September I decided I was going to sell meat off the back of the truck with this girl. So I put in my notice. I get up with her every morning. We drive to, and I didn't have a car. That was another plus, because they give you your truck. Little did I know, you're not supposed to take your truck home. You're supposed to drive to the spot, park your car, take the truck around, sell meat, come back, and then you leave in your car. But Jennifer played it a different way. She didn't have a car either. So we would, she just kept the truck all the time, plugged the cooler in when she got home. And I lived with my sister in these apartments, and then she lived in these townhouses across the road. So we lived really close to each other, near the bar where I worked, because I walked to work. So we start going door to door selling, and we're wearing I look like I'm a member of Nirvana. Like I'm wearing flannel and baggy jeans, and we reek of cigarette smoke. And we ended up just trying to get high all day, I think is what happened. And I don't even know why people bought anything from us ever. Some days we would make $600, and some days we would make negative because we wouldn't sell anything, but we would still have to eat, and we would still have to put gas in the truck. So we would have $0. And but we would go to these bars and shoot pool with these dudes, and we'd be like, hey, get us high. And then we'd be like, hey, you want some steaks? And they'd feel sorry for us and buy some steaks from us or some seafood or whatever. And then it got to November. Oh, so anyway, where I had my coming out party. And I don't even think of this as, it was basically the 2 months of my life where I partied, and I never really partied ever. Even in college, I think I went to 2 frat parties and hated them. I was like, this is horrible. Dudes just grab you and start dancing with you and try to make out with you, and then you either go to their room with them, which I never did, or you get grossed out and say, this is not the life, and then you leave. And I knew some dudes in Glee Club that were in fraternities, and so I went to one of their parties,
Delta Upsilon, and I went to some other party, Kappa Alpha, because I knew this other dude in this other fraternity. And, like, dude, those were the 2 parties I went to, and every other party was a theater party because I was in theater. And theater parties are the shit. Like, frat parties are not where it's at. Like, that's where everyone... Anyway, whatever. So I'm with this girl. We're selling meat off the back of the truck. We pick up hitchhikers. We flirt with cops. Like, we have a joint literally in our hand below the window line, and we're speeding. We're going like 85 on 95. And cops are pulling up next to us, seeing that we're 2 cute girls that are like 23 years old. And they're like, hey, you all need to slow down. And we're like, you're speeding too. Meanwhile, I have a joint in my hand, holding it down below the window. And like, we're just flirting with these cops. And then they ended up speeding off. And then we're just, how on earth did we get away with all the crap that we got away with? And also, we took all the money that we made. I never paid rent to my sister. I was supposed to pay her like $250 a month. Poor girl. That we did have, my sister and I had a falling out, and we did not talk until very recently. Like, we talked a little while, and then we did not talk until I found out I got pregnant, and then I started emailing her because I did not have her phone number even. My sister, who's 13 months older than me, who we were always very close.
Yeah.
Anyway, I started cussing like a sailor, like, say goodbye to any religion that you have. Like, you have to get reacquainted with God later in life.
Yeah.
Like, we bought ecstasy from this dude named Larry that was a mechanic that was an ecstasy dealer on the side. And I'm talking so much, my cigarette's gone out like 4 times. And my friends who didn't have the money for ecstasy, that had normal jobs, I would buy them ecstasy. So we just smoked all the time. And then we did X on the weekends. And then sometimes it lasted until Monday, and we wouldn't go to work on Monday. We'd finally roll out of bed and go on Tuesday. It was just the worst/best 2 months of my life. It was just like, how on earth am I getting away with this? Why am I not dead? Like, we would like walk from the apartment to the bar. We would have our 6-pack of whatever weird frou-frou drinks that we had. It was never beer because I never drank beer at the time. It was 6 packs of like lemonade-y type stuff.
Yeah.
And we would have open beers and open lemonade-y things. We would put them behind the dumpster at the bar and come back for them after we left the bar. We would be rolling on ecstasy the whole time, throwing up because you throw up when you're on ecstasy, depending on what's in it. That's when I started cussing like a sailor, and I still do to this day. And I find myself catching myself in front of my kid, who is just learning how to talk.
Soon to be.
Starting to repeat everything.
Yeah.
If you say yeah, he says yeah. If you say banana, he says banana. And he talks a lot of nonsense, but he says words, and he understands what you're saying. So I'm just like really, really trying not to cuss. And I tried not cussing while I was pregnant. It's not working out very well because I'm a cusser. I'm a cuss-o-matic. But anyway, that was my fuck a whole bunch of people, do a whole bunch of drugs. I never did heroin. I never did coke.
Yeah, just fun shit.
But I did Xanax, pot, and ecstasy. Ecstasy is not good for you. My fingernails were like brittle and like falling apart.
I found that out to like heavy boozing. I found that through heavy boozing that my fingernails were dog shit.
Your body just does not work right.
No, your body does not work right. And then you end up trying to heal your body slowly by more booze.
So
Doesn't
this girl,
really work.
Jennifer's apartment or townhouse, she lived with this guy, her boyfriend Jason, this other guy whose nickname is Boston because he's from Boston, thick Boston accent. This other dude, Timmy, who was madly in love with me, but I was not madly in love with him. And I was madly in love with Boston, and Boston was not madly in love with me. And this other guy, Greg, that lived there. And one night, Boston goes to bed. That's who I was sleeping with constantly on ecstasy, buying ecstasy for. Jason is playing a video game. Jennifer is sitting on the couch. He's sitting on the floor. She's sitting on the couch behind him, rubbing his shoulders. Timmy and Greg are on the other couch, passing bong hits back and forth. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bed. Because it was boring to me after a while. After 2 months of doing this day in, day out.
Yeah.
So I went to bed with Boston. He was already asleep. Go to bed. He wakes up at 5 a.m. He hangs drywall for a living. Gets up to go to work. I come downstairs, and Jason and Jennifer in the same spot. Jason's still playing video games. Jennifer's still rubbing his shoulders. Timmy and Greg are still passing bong hits. This is like a few hours later.
Yeah.
They're all still awake doing the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done here. And I went to my sister's house where I officially lived.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided not to just do drugs all my life. But I still cuss. Still a cusser. Still definitely a cusser.
I have to tell you that although I know that you were nervous about sitting down for this chat.
I don't know who's going to hear this, and hopefully they haven't heard it before.
First of all, who gives a shit about all of that?
Yeah.
This is a completely new to conversation for the ladies, for the gentlemen, and for all other folk. Because there's a bunch of other folk. I don't know if you know. There's a bunch of other folk.
Yes.
And I know that you were a little nervous, but I have to tell you that this was an absolutely fantastic conversation.
Awesome.
I want to say thank you for having me in your lovely home.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a lovely experience getting to know you a little bit more. And I want to say thank you.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, all the folk, I want to thank Miss Christina Held for having me at her place. And you can catch me on Instagram at the RookiARTist. You can email me at therookiartist@gmail.com. This is about growth and getting through the weird times. And no matter where you start, it doesn't really matter. And no matter
Make your life beautiful.
no matter what you did in the middle,
Yep.
just keep on going. You're gonna find your way. Don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Don't ever let that shit get to you. And young lady, I just want to say thank you again.
High five.
High five, and that'll be that. We're gonna go out on a little bit of tunes here. Not really. It's just a good tune. First thing I ever played in a solo guitar system.
Please.